The Premier League season kicks off tonight, and it's not just another opening day. This is the biggest gamble English soccer has ever made on American attention spans, and the clock starts at 3 p.m. Eastern when Arsenal hosts Coventry City at the Emirates. Let's set the stage. The World Cup final was July 19th. That's 33 days ago, 1 month. The glow is still there. The casual fans who only tune in every 4 years, they're still here, and the Premier League is betting everything that they'll stay. Last season, the EPL averaged 535,000 American viewers per match window on NBC and USA Network. That's up 5% from the year before, when it was 510,000. 500,000 people every weekend watching English soccer. That's not niche anymore. That's mainstream sports programming in the United States. But here's the context that makes tonight different. The 2026-27 season was pushed back 1 week, specifically because of the World Cup. The league wanted breathing room. They wanted the tournament to end, the players to rest, and the hype to simmer just long enough that when they came back, the audience would still be warm. 33 days. That's the gap. That's the window. And the Premier League has a massive advantage going into this experiment. They dominated the World Cup. 182 players from Premier League clubs were at the tournament. The Bundesliga sent 94. League One sent 78. The EPL had nearly double the representation of Germany's top league and more than double France's. Manchester City alone sent 19 players, the most of any club in the world. So when American fans were watching the World Cup, they were watching Premier League players. When they saw a goal, a save, a tackle that went viral, odds are it came from someone who plays in England. The EPL wasn't just a league. It was the league of the tournament. Now, the question is, will that translate? Tonight's opener is designed to test that. Arsenal are the defending champions. They won their first Premier League title since 2003-04 last season, ending a drought that lasted over 2 decades. They just won the Community Shield 3-0 over Manchester City 5 days ago. They're the glamour team, the comeback story, the club that finally broke through. Coventry City, on the other hand, are newly promoted. They won the championship under Frank Lampard with 95 points. They haven't been in the top flight since 2001. For context, that's the year the first iPod came out. That's how long Coventry has been away. This is a classic David and Goliath opener, and it's airing at 3 p.m. ET on a Friday afternoon. It's not a weekend slot. It's not prime time. It's a work day, and that's the point. The Premier League is so confident in the American appetite for soccer right now that they're willing to test it mid-afternoon, midweek, with a matchup that's not even a marquee rivalry. Because if Americans show up for Arsenal versus Coventry at 3 p.m. on a Friday, they'll show up for anything. Let's talk about why the EPL thinks this will work. The World Cup didn't just raise awareness, it changed behavior. For 3.5 weeks, soccer was the dominant sport in American conversation. Bars opened early, offices had watch parties, social media was wall-to-wall goals and replays and debates. The sport wasn't niche anymore. It was the center of sports culture, and the Premier League is the only league positioned to capture that momentum right now. Major League Soccer is mid-season, but it's still building its footprint. The Champions League doesn't start group stage play for weeks. International friendlies are sparse. The EPL is the only elite soccer product that's launching fresh right now with a full season ahead. And they're launching with star power. The league had the most World Cup players. That means the stars Americans just watched are back in action immediately. There's no 4-year wait. There's no gap. The continuity is immediate. Here's where it gets interesting. Arsenal themselves are a test case for American fandom. They've been one of the most popular EPL clubs in the U.S. for years, partly because of their London appeal, partly because of their style of play, and partly because they've been accessible. They're on TV every week. They're in the conversation. They've been good enough to matter, but not so dominant that they're boring, and now they're champions. That's a narrative Americans understand. The team that finally won after decades of heartbreak. That's a storyline that works in any sport, in any country. Coventry, meanwhile, is the underdog, the team that clawed back from obscurity. Frank Lampard, a name American soccer fans know from his time as a player and as a manager in various leagues, leading a promoted side into the big time. That's a storyline that works too. So the Premier League has stacked the deck. They've got the stars, they've got the narratives, they've got the timing, and they've got the data from last season showing that American viewership is growing, not shrinking. But there's a flip side. The World Cup bump is real, but it's historically temporary. Every 4 years, American interest in soccer spikes, and every 4 years, within a few months, it fades. The 2014 World Cup didn't create a permanent EPL boom. Neither did 2018. The question is whether 2026 is different. There are reasons to think it might be. This World Cup was on home soil. Americans didn't have to wake up at 6 a.m. to watch. The games were at normal times in familiar cities with crowds that felt local. The experience was different. The accessibility was different. And accessibility breeds habit. The other factor, streaming and social media have changed how people consume soccer. You don't need to find the game on cable anymore. You don't need to seek out a soccer bar. You can watch on your phone, see highlights on TikTok, follow along on Twitter, and feel like you're part of the conversation without investing 3 hours on a Sunday morning. That lowers the barrier, and lowering the barrier is how you turn casual fans into regular viewers. So what happens next? Tonight is the opening statement, but the real test comes over the next 8 weeks. The NFL's International Series starts in September. American football is coming back. College football is already in full swing. The NBA preseason starts in October. The competition for American sports attention is about to get brutal. If the Premier League can hold 400,000 to 500,000 viewers per match window through October, that's a win. If they can stay above 450,000 into November, that's a legitimate shift in American sports culture. If they drop below 400,000, it's still respectable, but it means the World Cup bump was temporary. The league knows this. That's why they're promoting tonight so hard. That's why they're emphasizing the continuity between the World Cup and the EPL. That's why they're betting on Arsenal, on Lampard, on a feel-good opener that gives casual fans an easy entry point. And here's the thing. Even if viewership dips, even if the World Cup bump fades, the floor is higher than it was 4 years ago. 535,000 viewers per match window is already a record. The baseline has moved. The question isn't whether soccer is mainstream in America anymore. It is. The question is how mainstream it stays. Tonight at 3 p.m. Eastern, we start getting the answer. Arsenal versus Coventry, champions versus underdogs. The Premier League versus American attention spans. And the world is watching to see if this time the momentum holds. This is the angle the EPL is playing. This is the bet they're making. And over the next few months, we're going to find out if America's new soccer obsession is real or if it's just another World Cup hangover that fades by Halloween.